Hello, all. It is Dev, SBMTG, along with the chicken we like at Magic. And have you heard, folks, that rapscallion Mark Rosewater is up to it again? He likes to put out a teaser before spoiler season, every single new set, and this time, no different. A bunch of enigmatic stuff, some puzzling material to go over and decipher that Mark Rosewater gave us just yesterday for New Capenna. So let's all take a look at it. Let's do a little spinneroony. And let's go over everything one by one. You ready? 1, 2, 3, let's do it! All round. Okay. Hey, everyone. We are going to look at what MaRo wrote down on a sheet of, I was going to say a sheet of paper. He probably didn't. He just typed this out on a website. But let's take a look at each and everything that MaRo said, and we'll talk about how we feel about it. Now, first up, here are some things we can expect from New Capenna. 5 mana cost using existing mana symbols that we've never used before. Now, something tells me that this is either going to be Phyrexian mana related, possibly, or there's going to be like a weird combination of hybrid mana that they haven't used before. I think that'd be really nice if maybe there are a couple of cards. It says 5 mana cost, so that sounds like a cycle of cards, right? That seems pretty obvious. A cycle of cards that maybe for draft purposes, a cycle of uncommons or something, that you can sort of cross over. We know there's going to be 5 sort of wedges, really shards. It's going to be the 5 shards, the 3 color combinations in the set, like Esper and Grixis and whatnot. So with that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if these 5 mana costs were maybe a way to use hybrid mana symbols in such a way that a card from the Grixis faction is also castable by someone who's playing the Esper faction, for instance. I think that'd be really, really nice. So I'm kind of calling that's what it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're kind of leading towards Phyrexia story-wise here. So it wouldn't surprise me if they also use Phyrexian mana to do this. But let's keep looking. A spell that costs 13 black. That's a lot of mana. That's so much mana. But I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if there was a cost reduction element on this somehow. Maybe you sacrifice X number of creatures and the spell costs less or something. But as far as what the spell actually does, I have no idea. It could be, I mean, a creature is a spell. Those are the rules. So it could be a creature that costs this much, but I imagine it's more likely a sorcery or something. Sacrifice X creatures, although then you think X may be in the casting cost, but maybe not. Maybe not. One way or the other, though, I imagine this is probably a spell you can reduce the cost of, like Blasphemous Act or something like that. So let's move on to the next one as I move the page up because my head is huge. A mechanic we've tried to get in numerous sets finally finds a home. I have no idea what this could be. I don't know sort of the inside talk, the inside baseball on like mechanics they've been trying to get into sets. I have no idea on this, but I guess I'm excited for it. Mechanics that don't find their way into sets are either they're awkward or they don't fit thematically, but another reason they might not find their way into sets is that they're too powerful. So hopefully they've been able to strike a balance and we don't get something that's, you know, the level of adventures, that sort of a powerful of a mechanic. But, you know, I still like powerful and interesting mechanics. And if they've had to adjust it a number of times to finally get it into a form they like and is balanced enough to get in a set, then hopefully it's an interesting mechanic. So let's see. But I really, this is one of the few that I have very little speculation on whatsoever. I have no idea what this could be. Tell me if maybe you know. I assume they mean a new mechanic, but he doesn't say that. He doesn't say a new mechanic. Although I have a speculation on this. We will get to it a little bit later. I do have one ability that's speculative here that I think he'll mention a little bit later. But maybe I'm wrong. A creature type theme for a draft archetype that's never been used before. I think I saw someone on Twitter say that it's likely this is assassins. I think that'd be really cool. Because there's really not a whole lot of creature types that they haven't used in, you know, some sort of draft archetype or they haven't supported in any way. And I think it'd be really cool, especially in a set like this, sort of mafia-themed set. Assassins makes an awful lot of sense. So I could see that. It appears the way he's written this as though it's going to be an existing creature type, so I doubt they're going to, like, bring one in. And again, I think Assassins, whoever made that call on Twitter is a genius. So good call. I can't take credit for that. I really can't. But at the same time, I think that's probably the closest that anyone's going to get without actually knowing it. But we'll see. We'll see once we get there. A red creature that can make token copies of creatures you control. We've already got Fable of the Mirror Breaker in Standard, and that's actually starting to make a little bit of noise. Just a little. Over the weekend, there were 2 decks with winning records at multiple different tournaments that played Fable of the Mirror Breaker. One of them was really interesting, sort of a vampires deck that allows you to create copies of Bloodtithe Harvester and Voldaran Epicure and a couple of other important vampires and keep getting blood tokens and dealing damage and stuff. Just a really, really neat idea for a use case for Fable. But either way, this could be another thing besides Fable that makes token copies of creatures, and there's already a number of creatures that are desirable to make token copies of because of, enter the battlefield triggers and stuff. So, maybe this is going to be better than Fable. Maybe it's playable along with Fable, especially in decks where all you really want to do is, copy dudes, but you never draw a Fable. It kind of sucks. So, I could really see this being decent depending on how it's costed. Like if it's a 2-mana red dude that like 1 tap it, make a token copy of a guy, sack it into turn, like that could be great. So, because Fable is already decent, Kiki-Jiki's a good card. So anytime you see something like this, you're like, oh, are you just reprinting Kiki-Jiki? I really doubt that's what they're doing. But, we do know this effect can be really good at times. The next one is a card that adds double Wooburg. Wooburg ×2, white, blue, black, red, and green. It's probably going to be really difficult to get that. That's 10 mana. It's gonna be, I imagine that's going to be hard. So I'm sensing kind of a Johnny or Timmy / like casual kitchen magic card here, but you never know. If it's easy enough to make double Wooburg, then it might be a really, really good card. But I know Wizards of the Coast, and that looks like it's going to be really fun, but it's highly doubtful. They'll make they'll make this easy to get, but I guess we'll have to see. You door to nothingness players out there, get excited because this will help you activate that card, I guess, in Commander. But this one, a mechanic which first premiered in a standard legal set in the aughts, sees a return to Standard. I think that this is Hideaway, but this is Hideaway. I'm probably making more work for myself than I really have to here. I could have just put the card on screen through the magic of editing, but Hideaway is like when this land enters the battlefield. This land enters the battlefield tap. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, put the rest on the bottom of your library, and you have to fill some sort of condition to be able to play the card that you got when the land entered the battlefield. They have recently changed the templating on these cards. Apparently for the new secret layer, they changed like the land enters the battlefield tapped is now on the actual card as opposed to the reminder text. So they just changed the templating for these. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a series of Hideaway lands or just Hideaway other permanents that don't like enter the battlefield tapped. Maybe that's why they had to change the templating. That's entirely possible. But one way or the other, I think that's probably what it is Hideaway. And I've always loved Hideaway. It didn't really get its due the first time it was in Standard. And I bet that's it. It would also work thematically, sort of a Mafia set, right? Hideaway, you get it? I could see it. So I hope that's it. I like Hideaway, and it'd be nice to see it sort of powered up. But let's look at this. A card that makes cat and dog tokens, so I'm really excited about that. A lot of people are saying it's Ginny from today's story, Tuesday's New Capenna story. I haven't read that, but I need to because the character sounds awesome. Making cat and dog tokens is definitely something I'd be into, and probably works with Ren and Stimpy. That's not the name of the card. I think it's Ren and Siri from a couple of sets ago. Probably works really well with that card. So excited about it, but we'll see. Maybe in Historic there'll be like a nice Ren and Siri deck with whatever this is. So. But a draft theme caring about a threshold in a graveyard that we haven't cared about before. That's an interesting one, right? I think it's probably colors. If you have 3 different colors in your graveyard, you get to do a thing, right? Because it looks so far like this set is going to care about that. And we'll see examples of that coming up here once we get to the rules text. But the last things that we should expect to see are multiple white cards capable of drawing a card each turn. That's really exciting depending on who you are. Some people are not excited about that. But, I like the white card draw that we've seen just recently. Welcoming Vampire and a couple of other things. Sigarda's, whatever it's called. Sigarda's Welcome, perhaps? It's 4 mana enchantment. But anyway. So I like the way they've been doing white card draw lately. We'll see if that continues to be good or if maybe one of these cards is broken. I'm not sure. But, if they keep giving white like sort of fair card draw. Oh, there was also the dog. The 2 mana enchantment creature 1/1 that draws a card when it DTBs. The white like Elvish Visionary. So white got that card too. So This, however, doesn't like draw a card when it ETBs. It specifically says cards that draw a card each turn. So it looks like these are going to be restricted to proccing only once each turn, like a Welcoming Vampire or something. But still, if the conditions are easy to fulfill on drawing the card, these could very easily be very good cards. But, you know, Welcoming Vampire is kind of medium. You see it from time to time in a deck or two. Especially now that Orzhov and Esper tokens are a thing. Every now and again you'll see Welcoming Vampire, more than you used to. But you almost never see Sigarda's whatever it is. I wish I could remember the name of it off the top of my head, but the life gain card that draws you cards. It's 4-mana enchantment. You hardly ever see that. So that's a good indicator that depending on how this card is costed and how hard it is to fulfill the conditions, that, you know, cards could either be terrible or very good. So I have to wait and see on that. I can't really speculate further. But let's look at some rules text. They'll be showing up on cards. And some of these are exciting. And some of these it's hard to make comment on. But the first one is, then if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. This is probably on a hideaway card. Right, I think hideaway lands cared about the number 10 for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure that was a thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was on a hideaway thing. There's just more support for hideaway. This sentence right here. So I'm gonna die on that hill till the set comes out. I think it's hideaway, but copy target spell you control that wasn't cast is the next one. So just copy target copied spell, kind of. But there's other ways of doing this. There's plenty of ways of sort of casting free spells without actually casting them, right? It doesn't have to be a copy. So there's multiple ways of doing it, but I imagine the most common way of seeing whatever this is will be to copy copied spells. There's plenty of ways to do that in the format between Dual Strike and Galvanic Iteration and stuff. So could be powerful. And it's probably, to make this card playable, it would probably have to be cheap. It could do other things. It could be on a charm. This could be on a charm, perhaps. So there'd be more modes on the card, right? Although this would be a particularly weak mode for a charm, I think. So I don't know if that's it, but one way or the other, you know, if this is the only thing the card does, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast, it's probably just like a 1-mana blue or red spell. Probably red. So could be good. We'll have to wait and see, though. The next one is, this is one of the ones that I'm most hyped for. Oh no, it's not this one, but this one I am interested in. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay 4 life. So we have to assume that this card is very aggressively costed, because it also wants you to do one of these things, which are very high penalties, theoretically, right? But we've seen on cards like Bone Splinters that sacrificing a creature can be an upside, sacking Eye Twitch, Shambling Ghast, or whatever. So easy enough to make that an upside. Discarding a card in a Reanimator deck could be an easy upside, right? So there's that. Or pay 4 life. I assume if you don't have a creature or a card, another card in your hand, you'll be paying 4 life. But that's actually not so bad, because that's the mode on the additional cost part of this, at least, that doesn't cost you any board presence. It doesn't cost you any hand size. It doesn't cost you a resource other than your life. It doesn't affect the game state other than, again, the change in life totals, which is probably better than sacking a creature or discarding a card in most traditional decks. But again, I imagine this is going to be an aggressively costed thing that does something relatively splashy, and sacrificing a creature or discarding a card could very easily be upside for whatever this is. So the next one is, if exactly 3 colors of mana were spent to activate this ability, again, you can't really speculate on what the rest of this was, but this is proof that the set is going to care about different colors. This goes back to what I was saying about the Graveyard Threshold ability that we haven't seen before, right? So I could see very easily this being tied to that somehow. You know, mechanically we care about 3 different colors of mana. So again, back to that threshold in the graveyard we haven't cared about before. I could see it being 3 colors of mana. So moving on, though, I really like this one. Create a 1/1 blue fish, a creature token, as part of one of these cards' rules text. And a bunch of people online have speculated that the name of this card is going to be Sleep with the Fishes, because of the Mafia theme. And I guess we can only hope. If it's not that, then they have missed a trick. They have definitely missed an opportunity to make it that. So, good job, everyone online, for reaching this joke before I could. You're awesome. But the next one is, when you cast this spell, copy it. Probably goes pretty well with the thing that copies a spell you didn't cast. you copy the copy. I do think it's cool. This spell very likely costs a lot of mana. No matter what it does, it probably costs a lot of mana because you're getting 2 copies of it. So, sorry for the clapping in the mic there. I apologize. At least I'm self-aware about it after the fact. It's a little too late, but anyway, again, I can't speculate too much on this, but I could imagine this is probably a relatively expensive spell. Right. But next is Wooburg Tap Sacrifice this card, or card name. So if you can make double Wooburg, and you have 2 of whatever this is out, you probably do some crazy stuff, right? But I imagine that all 5 colors tap Sacrifice, the actual ability on this, after you get past the cost, is probably sick. It's probably very good. I do think this is a good implication for 5-color decks. You know, I've been saying for a while now that once we get the triomes, it's going to be really easy to make 5-color decks, especially with Binding the Old Gods, getting you forests, and the triomes count as forests. It's going to be super easy to make 5-color decks. So this might be a lot more realistic to do than you think it is, especially if it's not like a creature. If it's a enchantment or more likely like an artifact or something, then it's going to be harder to kill this, you know, more likely for it to stay out long enough to actually activate it. So, you know, this could also be why we get things like Boseiju and lots of, you know, good opportunity cost free or low opportunity cost ways of blowing up enchantments or artifacts in this standard, right? We have lots of like best of 1 playable ways of blowing up artifacts and enchantments. Might be because of whatever this is. You know, just being that good, but we'll see. The next one is, this is the one I was excited about. This one I'm very excited about. Where X is the number of permanents you sacrifice this turn. The next one I'm also really excited about. You can already read it, I'm sure. But these two. This first one is where X is the number of permanents you sacrifice this turn. And then this one is count the colors of the sacrificed creatures. So we've now seen 3 things that want us to sacrifice, 4 things that want us to sacrifice stuff. You know, the Wooburg Tap Sack, the where X is the number of permanents you sacrifice, count the colors of the sacrificed creature, and the thing that lets you sacrifice a creature or discard a card to cast it. So, or as part of casting it, rather. So, a lot of sacrificing going on, it looks like, in this set. I'm really hoping between these 2 lines of text that cards like Flesh Taker become relevant in this standard. I really like Flesh Taker. I'd like it to be good. So there's that. But also, I will point out that Flesh Taker is 2 colors. It's a multicolored creature, so it goes pretty well with this and with the potential color counting theme of the set. It could go well with that. I really hope that we get a sort of Blood Artist or Zulaport Cutthroat type creature. We got Sanguine Brushstroke, but it's alchemy only, and I'd really like some sort of analog to that in Standard. I want a Blood Artist in Standard so badly. So, again, I hope that the sort of mafia theme of the set, card text like this, you know, rules text like this, again, points to more of these Sacrifice Matters, Aristocrats decks, themes, because I love those decks. We got Onicoat Anvil right now. We got Flesh Taker, with all kinds of, you know, multicolored stuff that cares about sacrificing. So I hope a deck pops off, and these rules text give me hope. But let's move on. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs. So that's, again, probably on a very expensive, splashy thing. That could be mythic. I don't know. One way or the other. This could be an interesting like win condition for certain decks, depending on what the rest of the card text is. But this is definitely one of those where you have no idea how to evaluate it without seeing the rest of the card. Let's move on to probably the thing that people freak out the most about in all of these teasers. And that's creature types. For some reason, people really love to see what creature types are going to be in the set. And some of these are hype. I wouldn't blame you for being like really excited. Devil Warrior is in the set. That doesn't really surprise anybody, but I do like to see devils. I think I would like to see more devil support, and maybe that's the draft archetype that we haven't really seen support for, but somebody in the comments is going to tell me that we did in fact support devils in draft at some point. But I don't remember that happening, but that'd be kind of nice. Up next is the Raccoon Rogue, Sly Cooper. The Raccoon Rogue. Cool creature type. We don't see a lot of raccoons. Maybe there's like a race of, you know, a tribe maybe of raccoons in Capenna perhaps, but I like it. I like raccoons. I like Sly Cooper. But up next is a Bird Assassin, a little support for my assassin, or it's not really mine, but the assassin theory. So that's kind of cool. Plant Dinosaur is up next. Venusaur is up next. dinosaurs. I mean, that's probably one of the hypest things to get excited about on this whole list is that dinosaurs are in Capenna. It's awesome. I was just saying, I want to go back to Ixalan and get more dinosaurs and stuff. We don't have to wait to go back to Ix. We just dinosaurs in the set. It might be the only one, but more dinosaurs. Wizards heard us. More dinosaur. They cranked up the dinosaur knob a little bit. But moving on, probably the one that I'm the most interested in is Treasure Dog. Now, if this isn't called Golden Retriever, I'm going to be like pretty mad. Again, I think that they missed a great opportunity for a joke if you don't call it Golden Retriever. But one way or the other, they really want us to sacrifice dogs, don't they? Selfless savior. Hit us in all the right emotional places, and they want to recreate that really badly, I think. So here's a dog you can sacrifice for mana. And it probably doesn't cost that much. I wonder if this is just like a 1-mana 1/1 that you can sack as a treasure. Is that playable? Probably. I think it's super playable, actually. But I doubt that it's that. Something tells me it's probably not that. But one way or the other, I can't wait to see this. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a relatively cheap to cast thing that maybe had some sort of very small effect on the game. Or maybe it's just like a 2-mana 1/1. You can block it, sack it for treasure, whatever. It's probably closer to that. But one way or the other, it must be called. It must be called Golden Retriever. But up next is an artifact creature, Angel Warrior. So an artifact angel. That's interesting. And it really needs to be a 2-drop, right? If the angel deck is going to pop off in any way. And while it still has time in standard. The angel deck actually I don't think is bad right now. It's got a lot of flying. It's decent in a mid-rangey kind of format. It blocks all the things it needs to block. It's got really powerful cards too, like Furrow's Retribution. I think Angels is actually kind of decent right now. So if it gets either another 2-drop to slot in, or God forbid a 1-drop, that'd be amazing. But if it doesn't get a 1 or 2-drop, even if it's just like a powerful 3 to 5-drop, then it could still be playable depending on how powerful it is. So kind of interested in this too. Really like the fact that it's an artifact. Even without seeing the rules text, an artifact angel is already kind of getting my mind working as to how that could be playable in a couple of decks right now without even seeing the rules text. So we'll see. But up next is legendary creature Sphinx Demon, and then 3 other legends. The rest are all legends. Sphinx Demon, Cat Citizen, Cephalid Advisor, and Vampire Demon Noble. So Vampire Demon Noble is interesting. Let me just start from there. Another good vampire would be sweet for the vampire decks, obviously. Again, especially the cost really matters. Vampires could use another good 3-drop creature. So if it is that, it might be on. But aside from that, we'll move to Sphinx Demon next, because that's also kind of whatever. I like both of these creature types, don't get me wrong. I especially like Demon. I'm always down for more Sphinx. Although Sphinx tend to cost an awful lot of mana. But they also tend to do really cool stuff. So I imagine a Sphinx Demon is going to be really interesting. It's going to be asking us some evil questions. We'll see. Some evil riddles, But one way or the other, the character is probably going to be awesome. But the ones that I like the most in the legendary list are obviously Cat Citizen. Maybe this is the thing that makes cat and dog tokens. Could be. But I like cats. And I like legendary cats. I like cat commanders. So, again, hype for a card before I even know what it does. I just like the creature type and the fact that it's a legend. But aside from that, Cephalid Advisor is probably the creature type people have been talking about the most, because Cephalids are back. A lot of people, I think, were going to wait till Dominaria and see if we got some more Cephalids, right? But apparently they're here. One way or the other, that's a pretty hype creature type to see, when you're looking through creature types. But that is, I believe, the entire teaser. I felt like this one was a little less juicy than what we normally have in terms of the teasers, but instead of there being like a lot of cryptic, hard to decipher, sifty through kind of stuff to investigate what clues he gave us and all that, there's a lot of just like fun stuff. I gotta let this chicken out before she goes crazy. You probably hear her back there, but one way or the other, I hope you enjoyed this one. Go check out this Dank Jank if you haven't seen it yet, where we played turn 3 Thundersteel Colossus in way too many games for it to seem fair. It's a broken combo. You should be playing it in standard. Go check these videos out. I had a lot of fun. That's all I've got for this one. I love you all very much. Let me know how you felt about all these down there in the comments section. Maybe there's something I missed or you have a different take than me. I'm interested in that. But let me know down there, and I will catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.